actually. I mean, I'm aware. They invented this kind of, they invented screen sharing in the 90s, I guess. But it is really amazing technology. It used to be peer-to-peer only, and now it's like, I'm basically broadcasting. And it's pretty cool. When you think about it, when you think about how easy it is to do something as complex as this. But I guess that's the whole point of technology, right? Is to make complex things seem easy. And then you have miracles. I think somebody said any technology that is sufficiently advanced can appear to be magic to people who don't understand it, right? So think about what we're doing now with the AI systems and all this computing stuff that we can create things out of thin air. I saw some really cool hologram demos recently that were incorporating AI into the hologram. That was very nice. And who knows? Who knows how far this will go? So nobody can see my screen? Is that a problem right now? I see no affirmatives on seeing my screen. So let's see, the microphone thing is moving. That seems okay. The little light is showing, saying people can see my screen, but no people are admitting it. What shall we do? What shall we do, people? I know the sound is on, but he's saying you can't see the video. Screen is okay. Thank you, Joe. Just trying to get the thing moving along. All right. So anyway, and then you look at the screen. It's awful. Down almost 300 points on the Dow. Down 1% here and 1% here and 1% here. It's pretty orderly sell-off. 1.5% on the Russell. The dollar is up a bit, up testing 104 almost. Oil, I don't know. If you can't gain on a 12 million barrel draw, what the hell's going on with oil? That's weird. We got to look at that too. Well, let's look at that. We'll do that while we're gathering our thoughts. We'll look at the petroleum status report, and don't forget we have the Fed. The Fed is coming at 2 o'clock. And it's only the minutes, but people get all excited about the minutes because you have more words to interpret. Right? Because it's all nonsense. Petroleum. Come on, brain. Yep. That's the one. May 19th. That sounds right? Because today's the 20th. Can you believe it's May 24th already? This is wait. No, June. You have to finish June to get halfway through the year. So we're not really halfway through the year. It still seems like really far into the year. Let's see. I guess if you want to extend your lifespan, or apparently extend your lifespan, just go into permanent lockdown. And it seems like forever, right? Because it feels like COVID was like 10 years. Really stretched out. Now we're back to normal, and it's like sweeping past. Like the entire half of 2023 is gone. It's like, wow, I'm doing things. I go out, I do stuff, I travel, I have meetings. Let's see. All right. So we accept the fact that this is a current report. Oil imports, blah, blah, commercial crude, blah, blah, decreased 12.5 million barrels. Inventories are 3% below the 5-year average. That's not a significant amount. Total gasoline by 2 million barrels are 8% below the 5-year average. That's a bit more. And distillates decreased by nothing and are 18% below the 5-year average. That's bad for distillates. And distillates includes jet fuel, and we're coming into summer travel season. So that's a bit of a problem. Although, see, it says below the 5-year average, but look, last year we had the same amount of jet fuel coming into the summer. Still drawdowns from the SPR. We have 359, now we have 358. We had 532 last year. So it's almost in 1 year, almost 200 million barrels have been drawn from the SPR. And again, we're sending them overseas. See them going out the window? 4 million barrels per day. That is 28 million barrels per week we are exporting. So of our consumption of 20 million a day, we're sending 28 out. So what is that? That would be 28 divided by 140, right? So 28 divided by 140, 20%. So 20% of the oil that we're producing in this country is being exported. Interesting, right? Not only that, though, but we're bringing in 800,000 barrels a day less. So that's another 800 times 7, 5.6 million barrels. So we're importing 5.6 million barrels per week less than we imported last year. So so the imbalance there is just stunning, right? So no wonder we're having drawdowns. Now, meanwhile, that's interesting though. The price of gasoline here has gone down from $4.50 to $3.50 and from 5 to 4. So gasoline is now $1 lower than it was last year. So no wonder it's popping up so fast into the holiday. Seems to have oil though. Look at oil. Oil is, well, $1.50. $1 is out of $5 is 20%. So oil is 20% lower. Gasoline though, that's much more than 20%. So I mean, not gasoline. Oil itself is 112 to 71 is what, like that's 40. So 40 divided by 112, 35% lower. So oil is 35% lower. Gasoline is only 20% lower. But somebody's making some money. All right, but anyway, we've talked about all that before. It's the same bullshit. Same bullshit, different day. What else? Anybody? Oh, let's see if anybody has any actual questions. Nope. Okay. Now everybody says the screens are working. I know. It's hard. It's hard. Is this today? Not at all. This is 2 weeks ago. We didn't do our webinar last week. Where was I? I was somewhere. Oh yeah, I was in Naples. That's right. I knew I was somewhere. All right, that's important. Let's talk about that. Does that work? Okay, so thing number one that bothers me is this is bothersome. Okay, so the S&P index without the very large cap stocks is really not performing that well. So and the large cap stocks are starting to get stretched. So then you say, okay, so either the other guys start to catch up or these come back down to earth and this starts falling lower because there won't be any more support. That, you know, again, you got to, it's each thing you have to give a weighting to and say how important is that or how much is that affecting. And if you start to see the negatives pile up, you got to say to yourself, gosh, I need to be careful about what I'm doing here with my investing. And we'll go over the portfolios. That'll be a good use of time also. Anyway, so last 7 days change 50%. Okay, 50%, 50%, 50%. All right, 11 to 40. I think Mexico was 20%. I have the number somewhere. Mexico 26% increase in COVID. All right, that is not good. That's our border. as many people are well aware, right? We have a huge border with Mexico. People go back and forth all the time. So how is this going to stay here and be heavily defined by this border? This is a U.S. average. I guarantee you these border states don't look like that if you analyze them state by state. It's already in America. It's not like we'd stop. It's not like COVID goes, oh, there's the border. And stop. Now, apparently water helps. If there's a water border, it seems to help because Cuba is not as affected as that's Dominican Republic and Haiti. There's Cuba. Oh, here's I don't know what country that is, but that would be Bolivia. That's Brazil. So anyway, you can see what's going to happen, right? I mean, this is how it spreads. This is what we looked at not last year, Jesus. Back in 2000, we looked at a map just like that and said, hey, not affecting us. It's not how it works. And that's freaking Spain. That's not good. Everybody's in Spain. That's where everyone goes in the summer. In Europe, anyway. See, not even 7 million people have been killed so far, so it's not really a problem we should worry about, right? We don't get too concerned about things like that. Not even 1 billion total cases that are reported. And again, how many people there? Raise your hand if you think you may have had COVID but never got actually tested for COVID. Like you coughed a bunch or whatever. Especially with the vaccines. And where is that number? There was some huge number. 13. I think there was 13 billion vaccines have been given out. But anyway, so as my hedging advice in this situation, go to get your booster shot. Don't be an idiot. Go get your booster shot and have a safe summer because this is coming back. It's blowing back, and we're heavily vaccinated in the US. It's very likely that we can not really get as buried in COVID as some of these other countries. But Spain is heavily vaccinated and spreading there quickly. China's heavily vaccinated, is spreading there quickly. So you don't know for sure, and you don't know if the variant is going to be covered even by the vaccines we're getting, but you just do what you can to mitigate it. And obviously there's very little we're going to be able to do to economically mitigate it. We can't take another shutdown. I mean, the debt ceiling is a whole nother thing. We can't take another shutdown. We don't have another $11 trillion to spend to stimulate our way out of a shutdown. That's why DeSantis is running for That's why DeSantis is running for president. He can take us through COVID by ignoring it. And let me tell you something. I live in Florida, and we're not dead. And he did ignore it. Florida had no bans, no mask mandates. People were voluntarily using masks. But you would go plenty of places where people weren't wearing masks. It was not a thing. And we didn't do it for long before everybody stopped anyway, because so many people were ignoring it. You're like, well, what's the freaking point? And we did not have a particularly higher incidence of COVID, although everybody did seem to get vaccinated. That's the thing. I mean, everybody got vaccinated, and it's an older population, so we all got the first batch of vaccines. But overall, it wasn't that bad. Not, following DeSantis. Well, let's not credit DeSantis for being an idiot, but following DeSantis's total disregard for human life, it wasn't that terrible. We were the worst in the country for cases, but we survived. I think mostly because we have a huge amount of hospitals. Because there's so many old people here anyway. Huge amount of hospitals. I think that the nursing homes were all very careful. So the at-risk people who are like in nursing homes and stuff, and I think a lot of the old people were careful. The places old people go, like supermarkets and things like that, we're generally pretty careful, and most of the restaurants, the staff would have masks and gloves or whatever. And everybody stayed mostly inside, and we're doing a lot less stuff outside, or mingling anyway. In social events, we're not there. So, we did a lot of the right things, but not all the right things. But I mean, seriously, my kids would come down to visit me, coming down from New York and New Jersey. And and Pennsylvania, and they would freak out. They were like, how the hell? They were like completely freaked out that people were just walking around as if there's no COVID, because up north it was very, very strict lockdowns everywhere. And my kids were like, what the hell is wrong with you people? You're crazy. So, and me, I didn't get on a plane. I didn't go anywhere for a couple of years, right? I didn't go. I stayed basically in my town. I only went out. I went out once a week with my mom, and maybe I go out one other time a week to go shopping or do something. But I was being super careful myself, and I wasn't comfortable. I got to tell you, there's several times I went out in my town, and I was like, Jesus Christ, there were just way too many people walking around without a mask. But the world did not end, so hopefully it still won't end. But we can't afford, it's not that we can't afford a virus, we can't afford a lockdown. We can't afford that kind of reaction to the virus, because we don't have the economy to shut down right now. We had a really strong economy in 2018 before this happened, but now it's a shadow of what it was. This is crazy. Our inflation, this is a core inflation. If this is when the Fed says they want 2% inflation, they mean the core inflation, not the headline inflation. The core inflation is much lower than the actual inflation rate, and the core is only down to 4.5. Their target is 2. That's less than half of where we are. They are in no way, shape, or form done or effective at the moment. And then the other disturbing thing is these are durable goods, essentially without the aircraft and without defense. Defense has been bringing a lot of our numbers up because we're giving a lot of stuff to Ukraine, and we're beefing up our own supplies. We're actually giving them all of our old crap, and then we make new crap and give it to our army. That's how it works. So everything we were going to decommission or scrap is heading over to Ukraine, and that's our aid. So our aid is essentially a state sale. Basically, it's like when Grandma says, "You can have anything you want for your dorm room, honey." That's pretty much what we're doing for the Ukraine. And then we write it down. We write it off on our taxes at full price as if it was a brand new item, and we replace it with another brand new shiny plane or whatever. That's how we're brand new shiny tank. Which I do not understand that, by the way. It's been demonstrated very definitively that a tank is completely useless in modern days, right? Like Russia has demonstrated several thousand times that tanks don't work anymore because a smart missile can kick the crap out of a tank. So why are we making tanks? What's the point? They're obviously not useful. Until you can figure out how to make a tank that can withstand a drone attack or a smart missile attack, it's just a death box. It goes a couple of miles, and then when you're still 10 miles away from your target, something hits you and blows up the tank. What is the point of that? And they keep using them because they don't have another idea. That's the funny thing. That's a very funny thing about war. So it's no different than corporations when you think about it, right? It's like, you know how to do, you got to be where you are by doing a certain thing. And when that thing doesn't work anymore, most companies and most armies do not change. They just keep doing the thing that doesn't work until they're dead. It's very hard. You got a company like take McDonald's, right? They made a teeny try at salads for a little while, and they gave up on that. They're like, oh, that doesn't work. Nobody really wants salad. It's like, of course your customers don't want salad. There was nothing healthy at McDonald's at all. And then you started serving salads, and the same customers were like, what? And meanwhile, people who actually want a salad have 100 better choices than McDonald's to get a salad at. So how is that going to work if you don't wholeheartedly make an effort, right? On the other hand, you have Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola sales were plateauing, and Coca-Cola said, well, what are people drinking? They're like, let's redefine. We are not in the Coke business, we're in the drink business. So what things are people drinking? They're certainly drinking something, and they found out people want, people want like Smart Water, which is their brand now. They bought these things, they didn't start them. People want Smart Water, people want electrolyte drinks, people want bottled water. Coca-Cola got into bottled water. They changed with the times. So really, the Coca-Cola board of directors should be in charge of the Army, not the Joint Chiefs of Staff. You need people who are willing to change and adapt their business for modern times. If you can't do that, you're not going to survive. IBM was a typewriter company. And they said, anybody who's decently old, I mean, I guess, even if you're 20 years younger than me, so anybody who's older than 40, I think you probably remember that IBM electric typewriters, right? So first they were manual, then they were electric, then they started putting those little correction screens in the typewriter. So as you typed on the electric typewriter, it would correct what you were typing for spell checking. It would spell check what you were typing. So it would be a delay. So you type, and the little computer processor in the thing, which was like a pocket calculator's worth of processing, but the little processor in it, there's a little screen on the typewriter, and it would flag or autocorrect what you typed. And you could even type and then read the page and go back and then hit go ahead and print that. And it got more and more sophisticated until it became essentially a word processor. And the first computers back in the 80s were basically word processors. There wasn't really much else that they did. They could play some games, and they could do word processing, and they could keep a grocery list. There weren't many things that even people thought of doing with them. Now, IBM at that time was already selling large computers and mainframes and things like that. But on the consumer side, they went from typewriters to electric typewriters to electric typewriters with memory to home computers. That was the progress to them. But that's why when Bill Gates came to them with Microsoft, with DOS, sorry, he didn't come to them with Microsoft. Bill Gates came to them with DOS and tried to sell DOS to IBM. And IBM was like, why do we need an operating system for the computer that, why would we need an operating system for a personal computer when we only need them to do one thing? They were like, basically, they saw a computer as a typewriter. And Bill Gates saw a computer as a thing that could do many, many, many things if you would have an operating system that allowed it. So you got to be flexible, and you got to think about that when you are investing in companies, because a lot of companies are very, very rigid in what they do. And when times are changing, they are changing right now as fast as they did in the 80s when computers came out. The AI, speaking of things going by fast, they released ChatGPT in November. It is now May. And it is taking, and also being in whatever, all the various versions, but it is already taking over the consciousness of people. It is being talked about constantly because it should be. This is like if aliens landed and started parading around the streets, and you would say, wow, they're talking about aliens a lot. What's up with that? Well, they're here and they're all over the place. That's what AI is. It's here and it's all over the place, and it's affecting everyone and everything. Well, not everyone and everything. I'm sure your mother, if you have an 80-year-old mother like me, she's not really affected by AI, although she is in subtle ways, right? Because now she's being advertised to by AI, and now she's being not prank called. What do you call it? Like scammed. She's being scammed by AI. That's right. There's a lot more stuff. So they're kind of more effective ways to scam the elderly. That's what I've noticed already, if they're doing that. It's kind of scary. It's just, but we weren't. It's funny, we weren't scared by the internet, were we? We weren't worried about it at all. We just used it and found, and people came up with 500 different ways to use it. Nobody freaked out. And a lot of this regulation stuff, and you know, I'm telling you, if you watch Survivor, you know the concept. It's like a lot of the regulations on the internet that on AI that people are proposing are coming from fear mongering, and that fear mongering is being placed on the web by people who don't want AI for monetary or political reasons, other countries even. You know, the same Russian trolls that tell you they don't like a certain political candidate are also telling you how AI is going to kill you. And they tell you that because they don't want America to go gung-ho on AI because they're behind. So it's and now it's going to be crazy. There's going to be information wars, data wars. You know those scams where they have they tell people like their kid has been kidnapped or their kid is in jail or something like that. Imagine how much more sophisticated that's going to be when you can now take that kid's Facebook profile and generate a mugshot and send them a fake police report and blah blah blah, and all this takes 30 seconds for the scammers to do. You know, my mom got one of those calls with one of our nieces was in jail and she had to send her money. I mean, it's insane. But because she's on Facebook, they connect the concept. They get a hold of her information and they say, hey, your niece is in jail and she listed you as a contact, and if you don't bail her out by sending us this money, then we are going to hold her overnight. And she goes, well, can I talk to her? No, you can't talk to her. So fortunately, my mother called my brother, and my brother told her it was a scam. But that's sick. There is some crazy stuff going on. There's going to be scams where they're going to show pictures of your kids or whatever in a porno and say they'll release it if you don't pay. Meanwhile, it'll be a fake. You know, they'll just paste their faces onto somebody else. That's all. And you know, of course, when you say things like that, people are like, oh my God, well, we got to regulate this. But that's not what you regulate. You can't blame the fact that technology allows you to do something. It's like blaming the word processor, right? It's like blaming the word processor because somebody wrote a ransom note with it. It's not the word processor's fault. Somebody used a ransom note. What we need to do is apply the same technology to catching these people. But more importantly, it's a tech. I mean, Jackie just got an internship with Chubb, the insurance company, for the summer, and they wanted her because of her experience with AI. She has programming experience, she has web design experience, and she has AI experience. And they were very excited about the AI experience because nobody has AI experience. So here you got a 21-year-old kid who is still in college, but she knows more about AI than most of the people at the company. So that's kind of crazy. And they're putting her in a division that's like a special division to develop their business to business units. So it's like a whole new division full of new people, not all kids though, but I mean, it's a very serious group that's creating this business to business section for Chubb. And it's cool. It's like, you know, she's actually in an adult job, like, because she's the AI expert for the group, even though she's the youngest one. You know, and that's because when AI first came out in November, I was like with Jackie, I was like, hey, check this shit out. Me and her were going back and forth, you know, constantly around Christmas time and the holidays because she had time off, and me and her were spent a huge amount of time in January just messing around with AI and figuring out what it could do. So we were both like heavily into it and having a great time, like, you know, seeing if we could top each other with what we can get the things to do. And so she, you know, she has as much experience as anybody else on the planet, basically, at the moment, which is weird. But of course, that's true because that's why in the 80s, teens became the hackers, right? Because the kids were sitting right there when all this stuff was released, when DOS came out, and when all this programming came out, all the smart kids started playing with it and got to be great because they had all day long to sit around. My dad got to be good on computers because he was an accountant. And, you know, back in the 1960s, they first started bringing in these mainframe computers with punch cards and crap. And my dad they handed him the stuff and said, hey, David, you're smart. You figure this stuff out. And he sat in his office and he figured it out. And he happens to be really smart, so he figured it out. But mostly that doesn't happen. That's like a nice coincidence that they happen to give the right job to the right guy at this company he worked at. And he learned as he went along. You have to be self-taught. There was no one to teach you. There were no computer schools, just like there's no AI schools because it's too new. So, you know, and everybody here, all you guys have the chance right now to learn AI and get good at it and be as good as almost anybody else there is. You're not behind the curve. There is no curve. But you know, just like in the days, this is how we came to accept the concept. Not even accept the concept, but we were almost prejudiced towards expecting programmers to be young people. And that's because in the 80s, who had time to sit there and learn all this coding and bullshit except young people? Because you couldn't just read a book and know how to code. It's like a language, except the language involves talking to a computer, and you don't get paid for talking to a computer. But if you're a geeky kid and you're into it and you love talking to the computer the way I love talking to the AI, right? If you love talking to the computer, it'll teach you. Oh, that's right. Here's a good trick. Where's my chat GDP? Oh, yes, I know it's expired. Log in. Yes, that's me, and that's me. And I'm not a robot. You're even going to ask? Don't even ask anymore. So, simple as this. Can you teach me how to code Java? Okay, anything you want to learn. It doesn't matter what it is. Here you go. Here's step-by-step guide. Setup, development, Java development, download, install, blah, 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 whatever. This is going to change education. Wow, look at all this stuff. It's not just this, though. This isn't a pre-programmed answer. It's actually setting up a course. You can just keep asking questions. You can say, I'm trying this, this isn't working, what am I doing wrong? You can go step by step through something, okay? How do I hotwire a car? Might consider that a crime. No, it won't do that. That's all right. So how can I fix a broken refrigerator? See that? So it's telling you, check these things, and then you say, oh, it seems to be this, and then it'll tell you, okay, now let's talk about that. Anything you want to know, anything you want to learn, you've got a teacher right sitting here that can give you a very basic education in anything. Can you, teach me French? What? What? Wow. I do not speak French. Can you teach me? Anything you want to do, anything you want to learn is right there at your fingertips. You know, never forget that. I know, you know, Jackie, when she was young, she would use YouTube or Google to find anything she wanted to do. Like, she was very independent because she got the concept that everything that she wanted to know was in her phone. And whenever she wanted to do anything, she would just go, boom, how do I do this? How do I do that? That's how she cooked. You know, she's like, what is the recipe for this? How do I do that? And it would say, you know, saute this. And she's like, what? Please explain sauteing. You know, it's the same thing, except that this is even better because it doesn't give you a bunch of bullshit sites to go visit and then you have to read those. It's just going, boom, here it is. This is how you do stuff. Whatever you want to do. And don't take one answer from the machine. If you're not happy, like you start talking in French, if you're not happy with it, just clarify what you mean. It's infinitely patient. It will just keep teaching you. You know, and that goes for options too, okay? Please explain a bull call debit spread as if I were a 12-year-old. Look at that. Imagine you're playing a game where you think the stock price is going to go up and you want to raise money from that. A bull call debit spread can help you do that. Here's how it works. Choose two options on the same stock and option like blah, blah, blah. And if you don't understand something, you say, please explain that. I don't understand this. What do you mean by that? Can you give me examples? There's nothing more valuable than knowledge. And you basically have infinite knowledge here. Now, there's a large portion of the population that is taking the attitude, I don't need to know anything because this does. And that's partially true. But then what's the point of you? If you're not going to integrate that knowledge, what is the point of you? Because your bot, you know, the person who's looking to hire you can ask the computer the same question. What they're looking for is a person who can distill the question and figure out what the pertinent question is and get the right information quickly and efficiently. That's the value that you add as a human being. You know, and that's currently, they call that prompt engineering for the AIs. But you know what it is? It's just like anything else because it's effectively managing AIs, right? They you know, to call it prompt engineering is to down talk it. It's just think of the AI as your employee and he has a certain amount of capabilities. And you need to learn how best to utilize those capabilities. And eventually you may be sitting in a room where you're the only human in a room full of AIs. And you say, you do this and you do that and you do this and you do that. And boom, your project is done. And your project team will be rewarded, except that you're the only one on it. So you get all the rewards. And no, you cannot be easily replaced because understanding how to get the most work out of your employees is exactly what managers do. You just have to accept the fact that your employees are no longer going to be human, not all of them. But you've got to, through practice. I mean, how do we learn to be good managers, right? It's practice. It's interacting with people, learning different job sets, understanding what the capabilities of the people who you're working with, and then figuring out how to best make a puzzle and put the best people on each job that they're qualified for. Everybody's got strengths and weaknesses, and you deploy your worker capital to the jobs they are good at. And that would include your AI people. You have to learn how to deploy them and how best to get them to do the job you want them to do. All right, so if somebody has to go get coffee, it's not going to be your AI because he can't move. Has no arms, has no legs, not yet, right? But so even though Doris might be really good at finding at finding lists. Let's say I need to test 5 kinds of coffee and figure out which one is going to be the best profile for people in Portugal. Now, Doris could be a great researcher. She could even be Portuguese. but she's still got to go get the coffee. The AI is going to start profiling what Portuguese people like to drink. She'll come back and she'll check it after the grunt work is done by the AI. It's all got to get figured out over time, and we're only just starting. This is like being in 1981 and saying, how come my computer only does this and that? We are nowhere yet. And by 2000, that's what happened in 1981. The Apple IIs were first coming out, right? The IBM PC came out around 1981. The Apple IIs came out in 1981. And I know I had both. My dad had the IBM PC, and he did word processing and spreadsheets on it. That's what he did. And he was it was my stepfather, not my father. My father had much cooler shit. My stepfather had the IBM PC Junior, or whatever the hell it was called. The one with the Charlie Chaplin thing. And he was a polymer chemist, and he would put his formulas into things. He would run simulations. He would do some stuff with it. He thought it was fantastic. They found it to be really productive for his work. I used my Apple. Not even good for games, frankly. I mean, I used it for word processing in college. Didn't have any real use for spreadsheets. Played with spreadsheets, but didn't have any real use for them. That was it. Before I went to college, so we played Castle Wolfenstein and Zork and something else, Tomb Raider, I think. But they were terrible. I mean, they were just X's and O's and things like that. It wasn't like a full thing. And they eventually got graphics, and they got a little bit better. But by that time I was out of college and I was busy with real life, so I wasn't paying much attention to the computers. I had one, but I wasn't playing a lot of games. Didn't start playing a lot of games. I didn't really start playing games until Maddie was born. So once Maddie got to be about 5 years old, she started wanting to play games on the computer, and then I was like, holy shit, these things are good. Oh, I'm sorry, no, that's not true. My dad, just before, in the late 90s, my dad was kind of he just, again, from a programmer standpoint, my father, he from a programmer standpoint just was fascinated by like how complex the games were getting. And we used to play things like Battle Chess and things like that together. But still, again, not incredible graphics or anything like that, but it was definitely entertaining to play those things. And then they started, then things went crazy in the 2000s. Everything took off like nuts. But that's a huge period of time between 1980 and 2000. It's 20 freaking years. And we think of the computers of 2000 as like completely archaic junk. This AI has been around for 6 months. 6 months, and it can teach you anything in the world, can teach you anything you want to do and anything you want to know. And already, do I have Bing on here? What's that? That's not Bing. That I don't need. Go away. Ugh, what are you saying? Won't you go away? Screw you. All right. I don't have Bing up. But anyway, so this is just constantly improving. In fact, let's see if it can this today. Let's see how ChatGPT does. I think it's starting to allow me to put an article. Please summarize and analyze. See if he'll do that. Nope. Bing will do it, or it'll say it'll do it. Whether it does it correctly or not is a whole different thing. So is this it? There we go. Your browser been updated. Next. Try Bing Chat. Sure, I'll try Bing Chat. Why is it so crappy? Oh well. Let's get that back. What time's the Fed? Oh, soon. Bing, 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 bing. Way to go. Oh. How do I get rid of this? I don't know how to get rid of that. Ew. Okay. What is this? Get AI-powered answers from any web PDF. Allow Microsoft to access your browser's web content and better personalize your experiences. AI-generated summary highlights from new Bing conversations. Wow. Yeah, good. Ooh, what's this? Recent activity. Please summarize now. Shoplifting in order. Oh, that was from last week. Wait, the current web page is not related to the requested topic. What on earth does that mean? Oh, no, new topic. No, this is not working correctly. Shit, Bing. So now I gotta get rid of this. There we go. Ask me anything. Are you Bing chat? Sorry, I'm used to having this loaded on my other computer. Now, it might completely lie about whether it read it or not, but we'll see what it says. The article discusses current state of the U.S. government, its impact on, as well as global risk by COVID-19. U.S. government is facing possible shutdown, raised debt ceiling, negative consequences. J.P. Morgan's Marco, yep, this is what I said. Stock market appears disconnected from the bond market, weakening economic data. The COVID pandemic is not over. The climate crisis is also looming large, and the world is on track to raise global temperature, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Article uses a sarcastic, pessimistic tone to convey the author's frustration and concern about the current situation. The author uses rhetorical questions, hyperbole, exclamation marks, and emoticons to emphasize his point and engage the reader. The author also cites various sources support his claims, such as J.P. Morgan, blah, blah, blah. The article is intended for an audience who is interested in stock market analysis and commentary, as well as global issues that affect the economy. The article aims to inform and persuade and blah, blah, blah. And blah. Okay, great. Perfectly reasonable explanation. Like that. The article uses a sarcastic and pessimistic tone to convey the author's frustration and concern about the current situation. Like I say, I shouldn't read these things. It probably makes me self-conscious. The author uses rhetorical questions, hyperbole, exclamation marks. Yes, I am known for my exclamation marks, and emoticons to emphasize points, engage the reader. I hope, well, if you're engaged, it's all worth it, right? That's hysterical. Anyway, point being, 6 months ago, this was not in any way, shape, or form possible. Now I can do this. I can ask it to tell me about an article that was written today, and it's going to read it and analyze it. This is freaking amazing. And it's almost endless, and soon it's going to be easier and easier. But the main thing is, though, I'm not limited by the space of this. This only allows me 4,000 characters. I'm not limited by 4,000 characters. I can just ask it to just read some entire web page with huge amounts of content, and it'll come back and tell me. Now, this is not the one I trained. This is a brand new one on this machine, so it's not giving me as good of an answers as the one I've been training on my computer, which is saving me as a user. I'm not logged. Oh, maybe that. Well, maybe it does know actually. It does see I'm Philip, so maybe it does. Okay, I might take that back. So it does know who I am. I just don't know how to get to it from this computer. But that is some amazing crap, and I'm telling you, okay, not learning to use AI now is like ignoring PCs when they came out and saying, oh, it's just a fad, it's just this, it's just that. It's not. This is everything a computer was ever promised to be, and it'll get better. This thing can help you do anything you need to do. It can tell you anything you want to know. May not be right, but it'll tell you. But don't be afraid to like talk to it and have conversations and learn from it. And the one on my phone, if you're into conversation mode, I loaded ChatGPT on my phone, and you can just press the speaker button and talk to it, and it talks back. It'll talk back to you. So you don't have to type constantly, and you can just sit there. And by the way, oh, and I've used it walking around town. I've said, you know, what do you think? I said, what do you think of this restaurant? You know, things like that, like pass the store, be like, hey, what do you think of this? Or, you know, what's that? Or what do you think the rent is at this place? It's told me that. It's cool. And they're gonna get smarter. They're already attaching them into your camera on your phone. So you, when I say, what do you think of this store? I can just point at the store and ask it what it thinks, as if it's like a guy standing next to me. Instead of having to say, what do you think of Avalon Cove at such and such address? It's gonna like actually be like, okay, I see that and I know where I am, and therefore I'm gonna answer the question. It's crazy. It is crazy, and it's going to affect the markets. I talked about that the other day, because we're going to, it's almost time for the Fed thing. We'll see how fast he picks this up. I'll be interested. Oh, it was just telling us how I could read a PDF, right? That'll be good to put to the test. I didn't understand what it said. To be honest, I really didn't think about it when it was showing it. I was like, okay, whatever. Microsoft Edge. No. Okay. Chat image. Oh, the image creator is crazy. Edit images. I didn't see that one. That's new. Image creator. Try now. Apple 2C computer. Apple 2C computer with printer. Of course, you got to be more creative than that, but there you go. That's not a 2C. That's one. Well, I'm pretty sure it's a Macintosh, or more like. Or it certainly wasn't how my screen was. But yeah, that looks familiar. Oh, look how the keys are messed up down there. So, okay, so now you say Apple 2C computer with printer in the style of Salvador Dali. I don't care, just randomly puts things while you're waiting. That's nice. Not what I was thinking of, but I wasn't specific in the melting style of Salvador Dali. Ooh, what's that? An alligator on a motorcycle. And oh, it's nice. It's nice though, because when you see these, you read what they wrote to get that picture. There you go. That's better. That's what I was thinking of, something like that. But it's crazy. It's anything you can imagine is there for you. And you can play with the art, you can play with the text. There's so much this stuff can do. Oh, where's my chat? What the hell? Oh, you're so annoying. Okay, next. Edit images directly from your browser. Hover over images in the web in Edge and select Edit Image. Wow. Oh my God. Quickly share files between devices. Browse safer on the web. Import data, sync data, discover more features. Discover more features, explore. Achieve more balance. This is Edge stuff. This isn't necessarily AI stuff. Ay, ay, ay. So let's go back here. Microsoft Stock. Okay, try this again. B-I-N-G. Bing. Okay, if I close that, there we go. How do I read a PDF file? Download PDF in Office, Adobe's Reader? No. How do I read a PDF in Bing Chat? Open the PDF file in Edge. When it's open, click on the Bing AI in the top right corner. All right, let's give this a shot. This will be exciting. Great. PDF, copy link address, back to Bing, and open the Edge dev browser. Once opened, click on Bing AI. Do you see Bing AI? Damn it. Am I missing something? No? Oh, wait, yes. Discover. That doesn't sound right. Outlook, image drop. Yeah, this is too much stuff. Jesus Christ. All right, stop it. Holy cow. No, I don't want to turn on here. Edit your images directly from your browser. That's totally cool. Share files. Browse the web. Shoot. How can I get Bing Chat to open a PDF? Open the PDF file in the Microsoft Development browser. Anybody know what's going on here? Nobody has any things. You can use the Bing AI chatbot to read and summarize. The AI can read online as well as locally saved files, but it's exclusively available in Edge development. If you have to download the Edge development, try this method. Once you've downloaded it, so you're saying I don't have the correct browser? Is that what you're saying? All right, back to Bing. All right, let's try this. Let's just see if it'll do it. Please. Well, he doesn't seem to mind doing it. Okay, this document is minutes of the Fed open market meeting that was held on May 2nd. Fed is monetary policy, blah, 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 consists of 12 members. We know that. The main points of the document: the Fed decided to maintain the target range of Fed funds at 0 to 2.5 and the continuous assets purchase program, 120 billion a month, until substantial further progress has been made towards the maximum employment and price stability goals. That doesn't sound right. The Fed assess the economic activity strengthened across amid vacations. Amid progress? No, it's making it up. This is bullshit. See, this is so dangerous. Wow. This is total bullshit. Look, see, inflation 2%, remain 2%. Inflation expectations are anchored consistent with 2%. This is just some old bullshit things it knows about the Fed that have nothing at all to do with what that is. Isn't that horrible? And that's the danger of AI. But the danger is not a fault with AI. It's just you have to accept the fact it can't just do anything like that. Open this in a new window, make that window smaller, make this window smaller, put them side by side. And now you'll see why I favor ChatGPT, because ChatGPT will not lie to me. So let's read it ourselves first and see what we think. Oof, a lot of people. Here we go. All right. Well, actually, you know what? This stuff is bullshit, so let's just have it summarize it. Okay, the economic situation I care about. All right, so here I just say, please summarize and analyze Fed minutes from May 3rd, 2023, colon, question, quote, control. All right, so what he says is financial market developments, conditions improved as the investor sentiment in the banking, implied volatility across markets decreased. However, policy-sensitive rates fluctuated due to economic data and market perceptions of risk, while the Treasury market rapidly. Boy, this is longer than the actual thing I gave him. It's like, how is this a summary? Holy crap. That's interesting. So, on net nominal Treasury yields declined, credit spreads tightened, trade-weighted markets, measures of implied volatility declined. Policy-sensitive rates, however, fluctuated in a fair amount, particularly in response to the economic data, but also because market perceptions of risk and liquidity. Treasury market liquidity improved somewhat. Don't believe when it says improve somewhat, is after we just had a crash in March. Treasury cash and futures markets continue to function in an orderly manner despite lower than normal liquidity. Trade weighted value of the dollar appreciates. However, policy-sensitive rates fluctuate due to economic risk and liquidity concerns about Treasury market. The closure, okay, see, development really that was not any shorter. Recent developments in late intermediate period, the closure and acquisition of Fed Bank was seen orderly. Blah blah blah. So you can see that he's working perfectly, right? His summary is great. Recent developments, First Republic Bank, banking sector, wow. And you shorten it to just the main points. All right, so this is what the AI is for. And you don't trust Bing ever. But if you feed him, if you know for sure that he's working off the thing you fed him, then you can trust him to answer questions and do the right thing. This is ChatGPT, not Bing. Although Bing is still using the ChatGPT engine, it doesn't work as well. It just does not. It makes up too much crap. But that's because also it's not trained. When you're using fresh data, you're not trained, and it's got too much data and it overwhelms the system, unfortunately. And Bing likes to pretend it can do stuff even when it can't. Implied volatility decreased, policy-sensitive rates, the Treasury market liquidity improved, closure of First Republic Bank quarterly, but concerns of the banking sector is still there. Treasury Department warned of potential, but meanwhile, nothing bad has happened since in a bank. U.S. Treasury Department warned of potential challenges. Treasury bills and coupons securities for June increased with notable volatility. Deposit outflows from small and mid-sized banks largely stopped, but regional banks' equity prices declined. Macroeconomic, and that just shows you, though, the regional banks are kind of a bargain, right? Because there's no particular reason for this decline other than the general fear of the banks. Macroeconomic outlook remained relatively unchanged. Upside inflation risk, that's obviously not good for tightening. Market participants anticipated 25 increase in May and expected it to be, the likely peak of the current tightening cycle. Wait a minute, what? Why are they not excited about that? That's new news. Let's read that very carefully. Where is this? Market participants broadly expected a 25% rate increase at the May meeting, and so the resulting rate is likely peak of the current cycle. Whoa. Why are people not responding to that? How bad are things today? Survey respondents assigned a much higher probability to the peak federal funds rate between 5 and 5.25 than they did in March. However, still assign substantial probability the peak rate may turn out to be above 5.25%. Well, that's, oh, I see. Okay, so then they sort of say the opposite. Survey. So the question is, what survey? Okay, responses of the desk primary dealers in survey. Oh, okay, so it's not the Fed governors who broadly expected. They're saying that the people that they deal with at the high levels in the bank and finance, they were expecting this to be the peak. However, respondents still assign a substantial probability that the peak rate may turn out to be above. So what they're saying is, in their meeting, they're discussing the expectations of the people that they are directly in contact with through a survey and seeing what they think. That's what that's about. It's not what the Fed thinks. Regarding the balance sheet, money markets. Okay, let's get back here. That's nice when it's like this, so something can catch your eye and you're like, oh, wait, what is that? Okay. Balance sheet runoff continues smoothly and overnight rates remain within target range. Expectations were for elevated overnight reverse purchase. Reciprocal currency agreements with the Bank of Canada and the Bank of Mexico renewed along with dollar currency, blah, 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 committee, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so nothing, again, it's a bullshit section. This is more important. I don't want to mix these two up. Well, let's give them a shot. Whoa. Oh. I think I might be pushing it with this. Too much information. Whoa, Jesus. Oh, there's no way. No, it's too long. All right. Staff economic outlook. So we're going to go here. And we're going to go down. Staff continued. Economic conditions and the economic outlook. Is that the one that just kept going and going and going? Oh, yes, so long. Okay, not going to do that. I don't know if we're ever going to get that section in one shot. Okay, Control-Z. Please summarize and analyze. Whoops. Quote, Control-V, end quote. Okay, so economic forecast for the May meeting, anticipated mild recession later in the year. Following, that's the staff's economic forecast. Following further tightening in bank credit conditions and already tight financial, this will be followed by a moderately paced recovery. The real GDP was projected to decelerate over the next 2 quarters, with modest declines expected in the 4th quarter of the year and the 1st quarter of next year. Growth was projected below their consensus. Was projected to be below the staff's estimate of potential output. The unemployment rate was forecast to increase next year, with its peak next year, then gradually decline. Resource utilization in both product and labor market was expected to loosen, with real output falling below the staff's estimate potential of 2024, and the employment rate, so the economy is getting worse. The staff revised its core inflation forecast slightly upward. All this has got nothing. All this does not lead you to a lower rate, to the Fed pausing even. Recent data for core PCE goods and wage growth indicated imbalances in goods and labor markets that were easing slower than anticipated. That's, again, not good. Total PCE price inflation was projected to be 3.1% this year, with core inflation 3.8%. Core goods inflation was expected to decline further. Housing services, core inflation was forecasted slow in the coming year, but remain moderately above 2%. To less tightness in resource utilization, the total inflation was projected to run below the core inflation, and the PCE inflation was expected to be around 2% in 2025. The staff acknowledged considerable uncertainty around the baseline projection, risks influenced by developments in banking sector stress. There would be upside risk for the economic activity if the stress subsided more quickly. It could go to the upside. Conversely, if the banking financial conditions deteriorated, there would be a downside. What's scary here is they don't know. They don't know whether or not the banks are getting better or not. That's messed up. You would think they would have their finger on the pulse of that thing. Overall, staff saw the risks around the baseline inflation forecast tilted to the upside. They viewed the upside economic scenario with higher inflation is more likely than the downside, considering potential persistent inflation, possibility of inflation expectations becoming unanchored. And again, nobody pays attention to the goddamn wages that are still way too low. It's not going to get fixed. In summary, the staff's economic outlook anticipated a mild recession followed by a moderate recovery. Inflation was expected to remain elevated, so inflation remains elevated, country goes into recession, risks are tilted to the upside. Oh my God. Okay, now we know why it's not going up. Yeah, this is a very sad report, folks. Wow. Okay, I guess we'll continue. Sad. From a policy standpoint, how do you think the Fed is likely to respond to the above data? Now this is Warren. This is him with all my training and everything in there. So based on the provided information, it appears that the staff's economic outlook includes expectations of recession, declining GDP, increasing. Additionally, the upward pressure on inflation risks tilted to the upsides. In response to these, all right, I don't want to use several options. The Fed may continue its stance of tightening. Okay. Bank credit conditions to address them. This could involve further inflation, interest hikes, or adjustments and other policy tools. The Fed is likely to closely monitor the economic thing. This is an ongoing assessment, help guide their policy determinations. Good. Balancing growth and inflation. Given the projected decline in GDP and rising inflation, the Fed will aim to strike a balance between supporting economic growth and controlling inflationary pressures. This could involve a cautious approach to monetary policy, tightening to avoid exacerbating the recessionary risk while addressing the inflationary concerns. Response to the banking sector stress. As mentioned, the staff views risk as being influenced significantly by developments in the banking sector. The banking conditions deteriorate. The Fed may consider taking additional measures. And communication. The Fed is likely to communicate its policy intentions and decisions clearly to provide guidance, so on and so forth. Okay, great. Okay, here is more of the Fed's minutes to summarize and analyze. Well, Why are you not? Oh, I put the cap lock on. That's why. Okay. Boy. See, now they're using ChatGPT to write these things. Holy cow. I don't think, I can't see how he's going to handle all this. Oh, here we go. Wow, I'll be real impressed if he can handle it. All right, Control C. Control V, end quote. Oh, no way. That's impressive. Current economic conditions. Participants acknowledge that the economic activity has expanded at a modest pace in the first quarter with the robust job gains and low unemployment rate. However, inflation remained elevated. Participants recognize tighter credit conditions could weigh on economic activity hiring. They remain highly attentive. Economic outlook. Ugh, I'm falling behind already. It's so intense. This is just a new ball game. It really is. Things will never be the same. Because he's remembering all this stuff. Economic outlook. Participants expect real GDP growth to be below. They believe the cumulative tightening monetary policy, trend of softening labor banking sectors. While the participants noted the recent actions had reduced stress in the banking sector, they acknowledged the strains remain. The banking sector was generally viewed as sound and resilient, but some banks with poor risk management practices, specific vulnerabilities face challenges. The stress in the bank, I wish they would say which ones, right? The stress in the banking sector was expected to tighten lending standards, potentially affect economic activity. However, the magnitude and persistence of these effects were uncertain. Households. Consumer spending showed strength in the first quarter, but participants anticipated subdued growth for the rest of 2023 due to tightening financial conditions, higher interest rates, and uncertainty related to the banking sector could restrain interest-sensitive expenditures, while some reduction in discretionary spending was reported. Access to credit had not significantly declined. There's something to watch. Business sector. Business fixed investment growth was subdued, reflecting high borrowing costs, concerns related to credit banking sectors. However, the effect of the banking sector developments on credit for firms appeared modest so far. So no major impact on the economy from the banking sector. That's not what we're blaming for this stuff. Labor market. Labor is tight, robust job growth, and low unemployment. However, some signs indicated moderation in balanced supply and demand, such as prime age labor force participation, returning to pre-pandemic levels, and reductions in job openings and quits. Employment growth was expected to slow further due to tightening conditions and tightening credit. Participants believe the imbalances in the labor market would gradually diminish with appropriate monetary policy. Inflation. Participants agreed that inflation was unacceptably high, and declines in inflation, particularly core inflation, had been slower than expected. Core goods and services and core nourishing services showed few signs of housing services showed few signs of slowing. Developments in the banking sector and tighter credit conditions were not expected to put much downward pressure on inflation. Lower credit availability could constrain aggregate supply and demand. Longer term inflation expectations remain well anchored. Risk of economic activity was seen as weighted to the downside, with concerns about risk of inflation were on the upside. Policy, it's still too worried about inflation. Monetary policy participants agreed to take the Fed funds rate to extend the policy, blah, 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 Financial participants discussed recent developments at the banking and need to maintain stability. While the banking sector was considered sound and resilient, stresses remained, especially for some banks. Oh, God damn it, I wish they would say which ones. All right, and then the policy action is basically the rate decision from last time. So given the minutes above and the Fed's intent to get core inflation back to 2% eventually, what do you think their rate target should be set at. Don't forget my prediction last year before they even started raising rates was 6%. So let's see how Warren does here. I don't think anything's changed. I think I'm still right from last year. Information provided survey, the Fed's is not an explicit statement of the current stance or future monetary policy. Given the information provided, so we bring back. It would be reasonable to consider a gradual tightening of monetary policy through further increases in the target range for the federal funds rate. However, the rate target would depend on evolving economic conditions. It's important. Okay. But what is your best guess at an eventual rate that will strike the right balance? And Warren does not, he doesn't have the intermeaning. You know, the thing is, you have to think he's been in a coma since 2021, and he's waking up and being told, oh, rates are now 5% at the Fed. And he's like, what? Like, that's crazy. This is all new. Data dependent, determine the eventual rate policy makers, blah blah. He won't say it now. He's not gonna get into that game. All right, that's fine. But then you see, this is what goes on behind the scenes, and I have to then go take all this stuff and push it back into Bing. I guess I'd say next to get rid of this. No thanks. Go away. And now go away. There we go. Okay. So what happened? Did I close? Oh, I closed Bing. So yeah, so then my next thing I would do, if I was like trying to give you guys like more of a report, I have to go to Bing, feed him this information, which is more summarized because he can't handle all the data from the whole thing. And I would feed him this information and then say, given this summary of what the Fed did, and given the data that you know, what do you think is going on? So that's why I'm excited when he can actually read a PDF. And maybe you can read the HTML though. Let's see. Let's see if we can give him the HTML. That's not Microsoft. That's Microsoft. That was from an older meeting. Try reading the HTML and please only use that as a basis for your analysis. Try to get him to be reasonable. Is that what the title of this page is? Calendars HTML? You can see how he, wait a minute. Oh, I gave him the wrong thing. Minutes HTML. No wonder you got these. No, stop. It's my fault. I gave him the wrong thing. That was an auto meeting. It is May 24th, 2023. Okay, May 3rd. Although you seem to know that before, right? Okay. Nope, nope, nope. See, same bullshit. 25. God damn it. Anyway, so very tediously, then I would have to cut and paste all of the notes that I got from T into Bing. Then I would have to have him analyze it and start doing it. It's a lot of work. You guys think this stuff just spits out, but I have to like put a lot of effort into getting these answers. Meanwhile, though, let's talk about the actual implications of this thing. So the reality is, look, inflation is not where the Fed wants it to be. They cannot lower rates. The market is making a huge mistake, and I think they're realizing that now. The market is making a huge mistake in thinking the Fed is going to either stop, and it's not even stopping. They're actually thinking that the rates are going to go back down, like right after they raised it. That's not what the Fed's doing. The Fed needs inflation, which we talked about first thing this morning. If I can get back to that. The Fed needs this to be here. They need it to be here. They have, and see, this is a mistake, by the way, but that's beside the point. So they're supposed to keep inflation steady. But to say that 2% is not a realistic, 2% is not a realistic inflation goal. They're also supposed to promote maximum employment. Those are not connected, especially when the Fed has allowed over the past 20 years for wages to slip and slip and slip. And so here's the other problem that nobody wants to talk about because it's, it's anti-capitalist. Real wages over time. Images. La la la, Americans' paycheck. Purchasing power has not budged. Wages and prices. Where real wages are falling the most. There's us. What's this one? Well, average hourly earnings production, non-supervisory, blahs going into 2020. So basically what it's saying, though, is that it hasn't gone anywhere. And I guess a lot of these charts are going to show that. Productivity, compensation. So real labor productivity and hourly compensation. It's going on for so long. Inflation outpaces wages. We're like so far behind. Wow. Here's a good example, right? Index relative to 1970. So here's about 1970. Real wages have not gone up since 1970. That's insane. Corporate profits have gone up since 1970, but not wages. Compensation. So again, things are getting more, we've been more productive, but we're not compensating the workers. Used to compensate the workers exactly for productivity. Then in the 70s, we stopped doing that. Then the computers came along. Now AI is going to come along. So the good thing about AI is it's going to lead to again another huge era as we had from 1980 to 2000. We're going to have another huge boost in productivity. But unfortunately, what's going to happen? We're going to throw tens of millions of people out of work, which will solve the Fed's problem of too much unemployment. I mean, too much employment. So we'll throw all these people out of work. That will then cause some kind of deflation, I imagine, and probably pull prices lower. Not necessarily, though. See, what you're doing is you're moving the money. You're moving the money from the poor people to the rich people. So in other words, if you think about it, you've got 165 million working people right now, okay? and they're getting paid, let's say $4 trillion for argument's sake, okay? So 165 million people make about $4 trillion, and they go out and spend it in the economy. Maybe they make more than that. What is the annual total U.S. labor compensation? Well, he figured it out. I'm not going to hit the tab to get that auto thing in. Dun, dun, dun. Perhaps you could refine your question. Oh, come on. Wow. 13 trillion. But he's counting management. That's okay though. All right. I realized 4 was too little. I think 13 is too high, but whatever. Whatever the number is, you have to imagine that I don't think it's crazy to say 20% of these people are going to have their jobs eliminated. That's going to free up $2.6 trillion of profits that'll go to the corporations. That's probably well, you know, I hate to say it. If you say corporations only make $4 trillion only, if corporations only make $4 trillion, I think it's more like 6 though, but you know, let's say they, all right, so if corporations make $6 trillion, they pay the workers $13 trillion, but that includes management, so it's like a double counting. And then they get 20% off, so they get $2.6 trillion. That's like a 40% bump to earnings, but it's a 20% pull from labor. So the AIs don't make any money, right? Some AI companies will make some money, but the AIs don't make any money. So basically, all you're doing is transferring 20% of the income from the laborers to the corporations. You're making everybody in the labor pool 20% poorer, and you are making the corporations and the top 1% 20% richer. So of course they're 100% in favor of that. So that's going to happen. You're not going to be able to stop that because that's just there's no other way. They're going to be jumping their income 40%. Now that's great for us. We're in the investing class, so we better just invest alongside it and enjoy the party. But it's going to be devastating for the economy. It's going to cause massive social upheaval. All sorts of things are going to happen. But it will happen over a pretty extended period of time. It's not all going to happen next week. You know, while here, let's see. Please tell me what's on the menu at McDonald's. All right. Anyway, so without any training, he knows what's on the menu at McDonald's, which is better than the employees coming in, right? Although, you know, you figure someone must eat there. So, you know, he could look it up if I wanted him to and find information. But so in other words, you train him up on that, and he can already become an order taker at McDonald's, right? And he can reply back. He can ask you questions. All right. So let's say, pretend you are a order taker at McDonald's, and I am your customer. See if we can figure this out. Oh, yes. I'd like a Big Mac with no cheese and a large fries and a chocolate shake. This is with no training. No. No. What do you think? Like $5 for a Big Mac and $3 for fries and for two, yeah, three. So $3.35. I'd say $11. Oh, no, really? Cheaper than I thought. Look at that. I mean, that is with zero training. And all you have to do if you're McDonald's is plug this thing in, integrate it with your cashier system, so he can take the money. And he obviously there's already a way that they've got this. So you feed it right into the kitchen system, which will also eventually be mostly automated. And boom, there goes another employee. McDonald's has already done that. I don't know. I don't go to McDonald's a lot, but I've gone to a bunch of them with my kids where there's just kiosks. Like you walk in, it's not even saying they don't even have a counter anymore. They just have these great big stand-up screens, you know, like 6 foot tall screens that have all the food items, and you go bip, 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 and say what you want, and then you swipe your card, and then there's a kitchen window, and then they come you go to the kitchen window and take your bed. There's no more counter. And I'm sure that was somehow beneficial to them. They've eliminated all that space behind the counter. They turned it into whatever they turned it into. But there used to be 2 people at least working there at the counter. Gone. No longer necessary. So with McDonald's, that's 2 people times 2 shifts at least. So that's 4 times, what is it, 11,000 locations? So 44,000 is 44,000 jobs. Boom, gone. Like that. And McDonald's, let's say, is 1/10 of all the fast food. So eventually it's going to be 440,000 jobs out of McDonald's, just out of fast food. Boom, 440,000 jobs gone. Things are not, and it's not going to be that slow because McDonald's already did it. And they didn't even have the AI when they were doing it. They were just doing it based on the old technology. Now it's getting, look at this is how fast I can do it. I don't need programming experience. This thing knows how to do that stuff. I can even, if I was a McDonald's person and had a system, I'd say, how can I integrate this into the ES9000 cashier system? And it would tell me. It would tell me how to integrate it so. So productivity, whoa, way up, because it's the same, because the way we measure productivity, we don't count the work of the computer, right? So in other words, when we say productivity, we're putting in these AI systems, and there'll be the same amount of burgers being put out, but with far less people. So your productivity is going to go through the roof. McDonald's profits are going to go through the roof. The only trick is, though, what's going to happen with all these unemployed people who can't afford to eat at McDonald's anymore? That's where you start running into trouble. It's not all a wonderland, but it is going to be a great era for increasing corporate profits. There's going to be huge increases in productivity across the board, all sorts of situations. Let's see, is there anything else going on? All right, let's quickly talk about the portfolios. Here we go. All right, so we started putting back things in the portfolio. Unfortunately, the markets are down while we're doing it, but that's okay because we're very, very low commitment level right now. Ooh, 5.7, that's good. $700 a month portfolio is cranking along. That's very good. Butterfly, we just saw is flat. Income portfolio. Ooh, 1.5%, that's okay. The long-term portfolio, minus 2.7. Boo, what happened? Oh, Apple took a bath on us. Oh, and Foot Locker, that's right. We got that Foot Locker trade. We're gonna have to fix that one. Ooh, I forgot about Foot Locker. Very expensive. Money Talk, no changes, of course, in Money Talk. Still 337, it's pretty good. And short term, oh, I didn't put the, we're still assembling the QQQ trade, so no final notes on that yet. But anyway, so we've got, let's look at the long-term portfolio. So it's starting to add positions. We got Apple, we got Foot Locker, we got VFC. In the income portfolio, in the income we got a bunch. BNTX, Coca-Cola, Sophie, SunPower. Of course, you got to have SunPower. Got to have Yeti too. Yeti's not cheap. That's why we didn't put it back in. But got to have a stock of the year at some point. Oh, yes. Okay, so Yeti's pulling back a little bit. That'll give us a chance to get back in. We will see what happens. We're not in a hurry to fill these things up because we got to see what happens. This debt ceiling thing is serious, folks. This can cause a massive, like 10% plus very rapid decline in the market. So we don't want to get caught with too many positions and get burned. You know, it's all right now. We're not even using 20% of our buying power in the portfolios. So it's all fun and games if everything gets cheaper and we get a chance to increase our bets. Because, you know, first of all, the thing about the debt ceiling, if the debt ceiling is the reason the market crashes, that's stupid. It'll impact the economy for however long this thing drag on. But realistically, there's no way this is going to go on for a very long amount of time. It's just like a blip. It's not like COVID. You can't react like that. It's just a shutdown. So what's going to happen? We have the government spends. We have a $25 trillion GDP, and the government has a $6 trillion budget. Okay, and we're shutting it down. So therefore, it's $500 billion per month out of a 25 trillion GDP. So it's not even it's basically 2%. So if the government shuts down for a month, that's 2% of our GDP that will go offline. But when they increase the debt ceiling, the government will catch up and pay all the stuff that they didn't pay last month. So it's not even like it's gone, it's just delayed. And so that's also going to be great because there's going to be a lot of companies that are going to report a disaster, especially if it happens right now in June. The month of June, which is the last month of the second quarter, is going to impact a lot of companies, but it's only going to impact them temporarily. But because of the way it goes, if we have a month-long government shutdown, what's going to happen is the companies aren't going to get paid. They're going to have terrible second quarter earning reports that come out in July. And then we'll get negative reactions to stocks. This is why you don't go jumping around throwing all your money out right away, right? Then we'll get negative reactions to people who were paid by the government late. Meanwhile, the next quarter, they'll get double paid. They'll get an extra month paid into the third quarter. They'll get paid for the month before and they'll get paid again. Not everybody, but there'll be a lot of people who benefit from that kind of stuff. You know, like Social Security checks, they're not going to never pay the people with Social Security. They're going to catch up. So you're going to see also, you'll see a big dump in consumer spending if they cut off the Social Security checks for a month. But if they cut the Social Security checks for a month, they'll send out 2 the next month. And that means that July is going to be a great month. Hopefully it doesn't go more than a month, because then you're going to start getting some real bad stuff. But this is all things to take advantage of, not things to fear. But we won't know what's going to be drastically affected until we see it. So we're just going to basically sit back and relax and watch what happens, and we will let the economy do what it may, and let the government do what it may, and we'll wait and see what the results are. It's going to be interesting, exciting. It's a great time to have cash. That was our plan the whole time, though, was to get into cash, be ready for anything. And honestly, we've got 700,000. We got about 1 million out right now. We had millions, and I mean like we had something like $10 million in our old portfolios. We cashed out like 90% and put it on the side. And we're starting a new batch of portfolios with about $1 million of buying power. So in reality, coming off the old portfolios, if you still have all that cash sitting around, you're going to be in the catbird seat for a long, long time. But we are starting a whole new batch of portfolios. They're basically about $1 million total, a little bit over. And we're going to start these from scratch. And that's actually what happened to us last time. The reason we did so well in our portfolios is there was a crash right after we initiated. We initiated the portfolios in late 2019. And there was a crash in early 2020, the COVID crash. There was a COVID crash in early 2020. Same thing. Things were shutting down, and I said the same thing back then. This is only 3 years ago. I said, this isn't going to last forever. It's going to be bad for 6 months. It was bad for longer than I thought, frankly. But the bottom line is people got to eat. People got to buy clothes. People got to pay rent. You know, there are plenty of things to put money into that were immune to a shutdown. Not the movies, not restaurants. You know, but there were very obvious things that were going to happen anyway, and that's how our portfolio got full of a lot of consumer staple stocks and like pipeline stocks and things like that. You know, people still have to. Oil has to be drilled. Things have to be moved through the pipelines. Natural gas. There was solar being put out around the country. There were still things that money was being put into, and then every time they put out a stimulus check and they favored like some industry or another, that was another way to know what to put money into. But we did it slowly. We built the portfolio slowly. You wait for the opportunity and you get in there. At the moment, and I've been saying that for the last couple of weeks, I have very little fear of missing out. There's a lot of things on sale still that are really, really cheap, but until we know what's going on with the banks, until we know what's going on with the government, it's, you know, you can put a million excuses, but these are big, big things that we should know about. Like what is actually happening with the financial sector seems to be okay. I'm concerned that the Fed just said maybe it's not okay. Don't like that. And then what is going on and how bad is this new wave of COVID? These are the things we'd like to know before we go gung-ho. But we didn't go gung-ho back in 2020. We went month by month by month. We added position, added position, added position. I think when it really crashed out in like March of 2020, we probably added a bunch of positions, but that was taking advantage of an incredibly obvious oversold situation. This is not oversold yet. This is pre-crash. So be patient. Let's wait. Let's see what bargains we have. We've taken some nibbles. We put down our money on a few companies, and we're going to wait and see how some of these things play out. But it's an exciting time to be ready to buy things. It is, you don't get a lot of setups like these, although we did. We just got one 3 years ago. We got one before that in 2008 or in 2009. You know, you got to learn to take advantage of these things. This is what the whole point of investing is waiting for times when everybody's panicking out of stuff. But you got to let the situation play out. So if the government shuts down, if there's no agreement, we're going to have a big crash. You know, 10%, 20%, whatever, you know, it's fine. It's a nice crash. Great prices, fantastic bargains once they reach a deal. If they do reach a deal and there's not a shutdown, if they reach a deal within the next 10 days and there's no shutdown, then there's still plenty of things to buy. We're not going to miss that much by not buying now. We'll just add 4 or 5 things a day. And, you know, I'd be able to say, well, there's a major hurdle we've gotten past. But so far, we're not past the major hurdle. We still need to wait and see what happens. And those Fed minutes were not good. Those Fed minutes were telling you their job is not done. They still have to raise prices. All right, so we're going to wind it down here. Anybody has any extra questions or extra questions? And we'll do it again next week. And hopefully at some point we'll have some kind of resolution of this stuff. Monday's the holiday. Change the webinar, though. We're still going to do it on Wednesday. And that's it. Next Wednesday is the last day of May. That's doomsday. You know, they're not going to exactly run out of money then. They're probably going to pull out some stops and figure out a few things that they can trick around. But the bottom line is we're really close to the edge. So right next week, it's going to be extremely urgent that we get something done. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. And we'll do it again in a week. Talk to you later.